The building is dark, but your door is open like a mouth that never closes. Pings slip under the frame and ring on your desk. Late approvals, quick checks, a tiny got a sec? That takes an hour. You answer because you can and because quick feels kind. Minutes dissolve into a bright fog of usefulness. The crown in your title feels like a toy handled by everyone. Here is the quiet truth. If anyone can come in, nothing inside is rare. Access flattens value. When every minute is hallway, there is no inner room where judgment gathers weight. You don't become less caring. You become less concentrated. People stop waiting for your word because they can always get a version of it on demand. Fear is the wrong word for what stills rooms. Think of it as steady regard, the hush that enters when someone known for clean decisions begins to breathe. It's not threat, it's gravity. The body saves questions for when it matters, because the moment will not be wasted. Regard is respect wearing working clothes. Machiavelli, read without melodrama, tutors this balance. Appearances matter, but outcomes keep the lamp lit. He'd ask you to make the doorway say something true, reachable, not resident, available by appointment, not by drift, so that results can compound behind it. Likability now or leverage later, that is the nightly bargain. An open door wins quick smiles and long debts. A clean edge loses a few cheers and returns hours that can carry a week. Close the door one notch. Let the room thicken. In the morning, watch how the first ask arrives shaped by your boundary. There's one sentence that cools any crowded room later. For now, choose a humane path. No cruelty, just edges that keep what's valuable rare and worth the wait tonight. Closing a door is not secrecy, it is standards. Secrecy hides because it fears discovery. Standards frame because they protect value. A museum keeps the climate steady so the art doesn't fade. No one calls that cruel. Your attention is the gallery. If the air is always the hallway's air, colors wash out. A door is a frame that says, "This matters. Come in when we can do it justice." He used to answer everything. Pings at midnight, drive-by questions, quick favors that multiplied. People loved the access. They stopped listening. Meetings blurred into consultations no one prepared for, because why prepare when the answer would arrive on demand? He thought availability was generosity until his words carried less weight than a polite nod. Then he closed the door a notch. Office hours appeared. Messages stacked until morning. He spoke less and decisions started to land. Think of two signs: open door, outcomes; closed door, optics. Open the door for the work that actually moves the needle. Blockers, facts, calls that unstick a team. Close it for optics. Status theater, preemptive reassurance. The meeting that wants your face instead of your judgment. The boundary isn't punishment. Say it's alignment. It tells rooms how to approach you and tells you where your breath belongs. You're not cold. You're conserving signal. Every minute you keep rare, your words gain gravity. People wait, bring evidence, and leave with next steps rather than comfort alone. The guilt you feel is a tired habit, not a truth. Keep kindness. Remove constant access. Courts taught a rule that still runs your calendar. We'll hold it up to the light next. It explains why the busiest corridors breed the weakest decisions and how a smaller doorway makes stronger rooms. We'll name it, test it, and let your days change shape. He watched how rooms decide long before words are said. Though a civil servant with ink on his hands, Machiavelli stood at the edge of courts and mapped how faces moved outcomes. Who entered first, who waited a beat, who smiled at thunder, and who measured rain. He wasn't worshipping power. He was studying weather, so ordinary people could cross the square dry. That is why his counsel still feels like a lamp you can carry through crowded halls without raising your voice. Here is his clarity, stripped of theater. What is bestowed can be revoked. What is built must be bargained. Titles are loans. Competence is cash. Access arrives wrapped in expectation, and expectation tries to spend you. When everyone can walk straight into your hour, you inherit their tempo and lose your own. Picture the favorite who mistook proximity for safety. Every door opened, every nod felt like armor. Then the season turned. A new voice whispered. A minor slight metastasized. The favorite's calendar stayed full while their control drained away. They owned visibility, not leverage. They had the crown, not the treasury. Scarcity gives shape to value. A boundaried hour concentrates judgment. A smaller audience deepens listening. A slower cadence allows truth to arrive whole. This is not cruelty. It is the ethics of stewardship. Keep the air clean around decisions, and they will survive travel. Treat appearances as tools, not masters. Set how and when people enter, and make that ritual honest, reachable for outcomes, restrained for optics. Let flattery be a visitor, not a tenant. Use favor to buy time for craft, then let results speak the language crowds eventually obey. We'll try a 2-minute gatekeeping ritual he would have liked. Quiet, exact and repeatable, calmly daily so the day spends you less, and your work spends better. Picture water under pressure. Let it sprawl and it becomes a shallow sheet that shines but doesn't move much. Narrow the channel and the same water cuts stone. Availability behaves like that. The wider you spread yourself, the prettier the surface. The tighter you hold your flow, the more the day yields. Pressure is not frenzy. It is focus with walls. Here's a simple ledger to carry. Optics hours versus leverage hours. Optics hours keep you visible. Pings answered instantly. Meetings that admire the problem, updates that report motion without moving anything. Leverage hours build the future. Clarifying one choice, writing the doc that shrinks 3 meetings, shipping the small thing that settles an argument. When availability swallows leverage, the river turns to glitter. When leverage sets the banks, work carves forward. Respect accrues to tempo, not volume. The steady pulse becomes a metronome others borrow. Loud calendars perform importance. Paced calendars produce it. People lean toward those who keep time, because keeping time saves theirs. A leader is a drum you can trust. Respect grows quietly when your cadence becomes the room's default rhythm. Contrast broadcast access with staged access. Broadcast says always on, and teaches rooms to value the quickest hand. Stage says enter here for this, and teaches rooms to bring evidence, to prepare, to meet you where work actually happens. Scarcity, honestly framed, makes every minute dense. Your words gain weight because they are not diluted by constant reachability. Test this in small ways. Close one window. Batch replies. Put a narrow gate before your best hour and let results argue for you. Watch how questions wait their turn, how tone drops, how colleagues begin to arrive pre-organized. The chat is loud and generous, a river of quick takes that flatters your pulse. You pause at the edge, thumb hovering over another reply. On your desk sits the one thing that cannot be half done, a decision note that locks scope, or a build that removes a weekly argument. You feel the trade. You mute the thread for 2 hours and set the desk like a stage. The room grows deeper. Keys sound like tools again. Defer, define, deliver. First you defer with warmth. I'm heads down to ship the fix. I'll read everything at 2. Then you define the frame, who owns what good looks like, where it will live when done. Finally you deliver a visible result. A link that works, a paragraph that decides, a date that sticks. Kind schedule, clear spec, visible result. The temperature drops. The chatter shrinks to fit the work. Close the corridor. Open the workshop. The corridor is where opinions multiply without tools. The workshop is where materials meet decisions, and time remembers why it exists. People will still knock. Doors teach. They return with notes instead of noise, questions instead of pressure, facts instead of jitters. Compare 10 small yeses, a dozen pings answered mid-thought, 2 impromptu syncs, 1 status performed for optics, with 1 outcome that moves the map. 10 yeses leave crumbs for your future self to sweep. 1 outcome erases meetings you haven't scheduled yet. 10 tell a story about activity. 1 changes tomorrow's terrain. You're not withdrawing. You're concentrating force until it becomes calm. The day gains edges. Your name means finished instead of online. Keep this door steady for a week, and watch respect arrive without drum rolls. When heat spikes and voices race, you won't argue the pace. You'll use a single sentence for rooms on fire. The week after you close the corridor, the signals arrive differently. The messages puncture your focus like pebbles on glass. Calendar grabs appear where blank space used to be. Threads that once waited for daylight now shout urgent in caps and emojis. You feel the old reflex reach for the keyboard, fingers ready to buy peace with speed. Breathe. This is not about your worth. It's about clocks colliding. People who depended on instant access are testing the new door, the way a hand tests a window. It forgot has a latch. 2 forces tend to show up: envy and panic. Envy arrives as velvet friction, smiles that volunteer oversight, questions that expand scope without owning it. Panic arrives as transfer, another person's clock trying to become your court. They throw you their timer and hope you'll wear the whistle. Remember the model. If your pulse becomes everyone's emergency, no judgment survives. Return the clock kindly. Offer rails and a pace that work tomorrow. Your slowness is craftsmanship, not cowardice. Craftsmen don't sprint the cut because a crowd claps. They measure, then move so the piece holds. Answer from the dock you built. Mirror 1 fact, name your boundary, propose a path. I'm offline until 2. Send the brief and I'll return with options. If someone pushes with heat, lower yours. The body learns your metronome before the mind does. And rooms adjust to whoever breathes like tomorrow exists. Expect a few last tries, double question marks. Calendar land grabs. Sudden supervisors CC'd for pressure. Treat each as weather. Acknowledge, restate pace, keep building. Write a short note after decisions, so evidence travels and rumors starve. The more you keep time, the more hands fall in. Next, a 2-minute gate ritual to keep your center when pushback knocks. We'll use it soon. The hallway is almost asleep. A wooden gate waits between 2 pools of light, its latch smooth from years of hands that paused before they entered. Beside it hangs a tiny ledger on a nail. The kind of card a careful shop keeps for daily tallies. You rest your fingers on the gate, feel the grain, and let your shoulders lower until the night fits. 3 moves, quiet and repeatable. First, name the aim. Not 10, not 3. 1 thing that would make tomorrow cheaper if you moved it an inch tonight. Write it on the ledger in plain words. Circle once. Breathe until the circle becomes a pace. Second, price the yes. Put down what the ask will truly cost. 1 hour of deep work lost. 2 meetings borrowed from a better week. The thinness you'll feel in the morning. Numbers make fog honest. If the total is larger than the applause, mark it with a small star. Third, pick the smallest leverage step. A paragraph that decides, a prototype link that settles a debate, a name beside an owner field, steps that shrink future, asks into a single link you can send without hurrying. Whisper the line you're living by. Rent status. Own competence urge dwindles in the careful air. The ledger steadies your hands. The gate steadies the room. You close your eyes long enough to feel what remains when praise is quiet. Then you choose. Sometimes you lift the latch and go in. Sometimes you leave it closed and carry the inch you can move from here. The hallway hears you decide and grows friendly again. Urgency returns to scale. Access returns to sense. You keep the card. You keep your pulse. We will use it when heat wants hurry. Bring this gate into the conversation test. The ping arrives with its siren. Can you jump in now? You feel the trap disguised as helpful urgency. The timing will eat the hour that feeds tomorrow. You breathe once, and let the floor meet your shoes before words do. Pace first, then presence. Fact. I'm in a blocked build that ships at 4. A mirror, clean and small. Window, I'm available between 2 and 2:30. Not an apology, a gate. Next step, send the raw notes. I'll return 1 page with owners and dates. You are placing furniture, not asking permission. Heat searches for a foothold and doesn't find one. They push a little. If we wait, we'll lose momentum. You keep the lane you chose. We'll keep it by deciding once. Notes by 2. Decisions by 2:30. Review tomorrow. If a blocker is real, flag red. The cadence slows the room. People hear themselves think. The calendar stops acting like weather and becomes a map. A teammate relieved by rails adds a dependency everyone missed. Another proposes a smaller path that protects quality. The chat cools. The asker exhales. 2:30 works. You send 1 line to seal the shape. Recap after decisions, owners, dates. No status theater. Then you turn back to the build that will actually move the week. Respect rises quietly because your tempo saves time. You didn't perform importance. You issued clarity. Gravity belongs to steady hands, and rooms prefer gravity once it appears. The door you closed became a frame. Inside it, work gathered and stood up straight. You will sleep later without bargaining. Keep this move where your breath can find it. Mirror, window, step. Use it in hallways, threads, kitchens, and late texts. When heat climbs anyway, we won't argue with flame. We'll place 1 sentence that cools the room on contact. Here's the line. Small enough to fit in a pocket, and strong enough to stand in heat. Let's slow to facts and next steps. Say it like you're straightening a picture frame, not swinging a hammer. Brief, portable, non-theatrical. It doesn't accuse, it organizes. Use it in stand-ups, kitchens, threads, boardrooms, anywhere breath is thin and drama is cheap. Picture the stand-up unraveling. Updates blur. A rumor flares. A question arrives sharpened into a jab. Voices stack. You breathe to the floor and place the line. Let's slow to facts and next steps. Oxygen returns. A developer names the failing tests. Another proposes a rollback behind a flag. A product lead lists what can slip without breaking trust. The sharpest voice lowers because clarity doesn't compete. Decisions get real. Authority is the quiet that survives pressure. When your breath steadies, the room borrows your rhythm. Facts replace theater. The sentence works because it rides your exhale and hands the moment back to evidence and action. Say it once, then let silence do half the labor. People will fill the space with what matters. Machiavelli would approve the posture. Appear steady, be steady, move the result. Reputation lives on the surface. Outcomes anchor below. Your calm becomes the room's metronome, and urgency remembers its seat. You protect standards without edge, and the work learns to stand without you narrating it. Write the line where your eyes land, top of agendas, first slide, lock screen, sticky note. Speak it gently again and again. With repetition, people arrive pre-organized, bringing facts before friction. With repetition, your own nerves learn the short road from sting to stance. Repetition turns posture into culture, and culture into days that finish clean. Days change shape when the door holds. Fewer interruptions, deeper work, mornings that keep their edges. Coffee tastes like itself again. The list is shorter, and the hours stop spilling. You finish things that used to wobble for weeks. Meetings arrive with purpose or not at all. Friends learn the rhythm and come with facts, not fog. You feel less famous in the moment and more real by night. Return to the same office, screen bright. The pings still knock, but your breath does not rush to open. You choose who enters, when, and for what. A block dependency gets the key. A status costume waits outside. You answer in windows that protect the work. The room thickens around your choices. People arrive prepared. The doorway taught them, keep the charge close. Before you reply, stand at the gate and touch the ledger. Name the aim, price the yes, pick the smallest leverage step. Before you decide, stage the hour so outcomes can breathe. Before you sleep, open a crack of night and let the day hand back what it borrowed. Little rituals, large protection. Respect grows without drum rolls. Peace begins to keep watch while you work. Outcomes hold because attention held. The crown becomes quiet and fits. You are easier to trust and harder to hurry. Rooms tilt toward your tempo because it saves time. People stop testing and start preparing. The door you closed turned out to be a promise kept. Guard the door. The room will guard you back. If this feels like home, come walk with the rare and the patient. Fewer corridors, deeper chairs, slower talk, better work. Bring your breath, your small ledger, and a pace that lets meaning arrive on time. We'll keep the light low and the path clear for what comes next.